We're here to do the Taurus Ascendant archetype. We're going to talk about what this means, what this represents, and how to balance out your houses, which are known as areas of life. So normally in Western astrology, we go by Placidus system. That's like the main system. People go by different systems as there are multiple systems, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's known as whole sign houses, right? And that's basically going to assign each sign per house, basically. So it would be 30-degree signs, and the houses would be 30 degrees as well, right? So we got Taurus on the first house, cuz Gemini over here on the second. We got Cancer over here on the third, Leo on the fourth, Virgo on the fifth, Libra on the sixth, seventh is Scorpio, eighth is Sag, Capricorn is the ninth. We got Aquarius on the 10th, Pisces is the 11th, and the Aries on the 12th house. So we're gonna break this down, right, in terms of what this means. So yeah, we're gonna start with the Taurus Ascendant. So the Ascendant sign is the sign that was on the eastern horizon, and again, this is for the Taurus archetype in terms of balancing out your energies. So Taurus was on the eastern horizon when you guys were born. We're gonna balance this out with the energies of Taurus in the first and Scorpio on the 7th house, as you can see over here. So Taurus, when you have this on your Ascendant, this is kind of like, you know, the energy you give off is your physical body, physical appearance. I like to say it's how you act. As it's the mask that we wear. So you act and move in a more of a slower manner when you have a Taurus Ascendant. Also, you're the type that Taurus likes stability, as it's the sign of money, finance. When you look on Wall Street, the sign that they have there is the charging bull, right? Because we know that Taurus represents money, right? It's a sign of stability, comfortability, finances. So this could be your outlook on life. Like, you want to be stable. You know, you want nice things as well. Taurus tends to move slow, right? And since you guys like comfort, this is why opposite of that in your house of partnerships, 7th house in relationships, you have Scorpio here, because this can tell us that you can go through deep transformation through your relationships because you guys like to be a bit more comfortable. I'll say like that. Your relationships are going to be what catapults you towards deep change, which is what Scorpio represents, death and rebirth, regeneration. Now, I also like to say that Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. Mars is the god of war, and Pluto is the god of the underworld. So I like to say, you got the god of war coming here, and the underworld god coming into your house relationship. So you're gonna, I just like to say, wherever Scorpio is at, I'm gonna be blunt, is where you attract fuckery, right? You can attract maybe some chaos or just some power struggles in your relationships, right? So this is why you move more private, more secretive in your partnerships, in your relationships, as Scorpio is a sign of secrets. So, being that you could go through power struggles, manipulation in this area, this is why you move, again, more secretively. But this is why also, opposite of that, in your first house, you need to be stable and secure with yourself, because you could go through power struggles with other people, unfortunately, you know? That's just, you know, one way to look at it, how the energies kind of play out and balance each other out. Right. So again, if you're moving slow, then your relationships will catapult you towards deep change. If you are going through power struggles in your relationships, which I know 9 times out of 10 you will be, you need to get, again, back to being secure and stable within yourself. Make sure you are solid, right? Let's go to Gemini in the 2nd house. When you have Gemini in the 2nd house, Gemini represents the mind and communication as well. This tells us that you could be expressive or communicative about your values, or you just value communication. It could be both as well too. Your mind is what Gemini represents, as it's ruled by Mercury. It's fixated on 2nd house matters. 2nd house is a Taurus house, so it deals with finances. It deals with our possessions, our resources. You know, you can be the type that's your mind is set on your own resources. So opposite of that, in the 8th house, we got Sag here, so you need to grow in your intimate life, because this house deals with intimacy, even sharing your resources with partners, basically, that you're intimate with. And it's the house of sex as well too. So if you're over either indulging or just over kind of growing in this area, because Sagittarius represents a lot, or growth, expansion, if you're doing that too much in your intimate life, then you need to get back to thinking about your own values and also your own resources. That's how we balance out these energies. 3rd house, you got Cancer in your 3rd house. Opposite that, you got Capricorn in the 9th house. 9th house represents a couple of things, but it can represent your father, it can represent your beliefs, spirituality as well too. It tells us that your father Could have been someone who was hardworking about his career, his status, his legacy as well. So being that he could have been focused on his public image, his status, his career, it could be like a restriction basically with and your beliefs basically, and it could stem from your father dynamic. That makes sense. Like it could stem from your father dynamic. He was about his career. So when you got Capricorn again also on your 9th house, you need to work and be responsible. In areas that deal with beliefs basically, spirituality, higher philosophies, or religion, depending on who you are and what you're into. You need to work at this area because you could be a bit more pessimistic in this area. It may have stemmed from your father dynamic, again, if he was actually focused on his career and you didn't get what you needed from him. But Capricorn, we got to think about it, is a very realistic sign. It's down to earth, it's very practical. So you're not the type that's going to be just believing in anything, right? So what I want to say is, again, I told you, be responsible and reliable and work on your beliefs, your spirituality, your philosophies. It could even be religion. You got to work on this area because you're going to feel more restricted with Capricorn's energy here. But at the same time, 3rd house is siblings. It's your relatives. You got to find a balance between working on this area, beliefs, spirituality, religion, and nurturing your siblings, relatives, all that, you know what I mean? Because you have Cancer here. This is a maternal type of energy, so you come off as the mother even if you're a male. You want to nurture these people. So you got to find a balance between nurturing relatives, siblings, families. Because you also think in an emotional manner, and you think about family with Cancer on the 3rd. Got to balance that out with being, again, responsible and reliable for your spirituality to keep you centered. Because spirituality is supposed to keep you centered, you know. Let's go to Leo on the 4th house. 4th house represents your mother. This tells us that, well, first, Leo on the 4th, and then versus 10th house with Aquarius. So your mother could have been the type that was well known. Maybe she commanded a lot of attention and also liked things to revolve around her within your home and in your upbringing. So there's going to be some type of dynamic to where you actually wanted to be seen and recognized for your feelings, because 4th house is also feelings, and you want to be recognized in the home too, right? Both of y'all, you and your mother, would have embodied this dynamic. This is why opposite that in the world, which is the 10th house, how you're seen in the public, you're seen as someone who's a rebel, because again, your mother would have wanted things to revolve around her in the home, right? Now, Aquarius also represents progressiveness. So you want to progress in your career, your reputation, even though you're seen as an individual, a unique one, you're seen kind of different in the world, right? You want to progress in this area. So if you're overly progressing in your career, your public image, your status, reputation, you need to get back to the 4th house and being kind of like seen in this area, or it revolving around you. You need to be you need to be the king in this area. Leo represents the king, so you need to be the king of your home, even if you're a woman, right? It needs to revolve around you, again, because you want to be seen in your home. That's how we balance out the energies. If you're over progressing in 10th house, career, public image, get back to shining light and being seen, or the king of your home. Things are revolving around you in this area. Virgo on the 5th house versus 11th house Pisces. So these houses represent a couple different things. 5th house is fun and pleasure versus 11th house in Pisces is goals and aspirations. So you could be very giving, very sacrificial towards your goals and aspirations, because Pisces represents self-sacrifices, whereas opposite that, Virgo represents self-improving and perfecting. So being that you're very giving towards your goals and aspirations, you need to work on having a bit more fun and pleasure. You need to kind of self-improve in this area. Now also, this house represents our dating life. So if you're overgiving towards your goals, aspirations, hopes, and wishes, whatever that may be, you need to self-improve in areas that deal with dating. Your romantic life could be seen from the 5th house in this area. And even if you have children, you need to work on this area. You could be a bit more critical too with people you date, and also with your children. So you want to be mindful of that, right? Because this is the house of self-expression. So you come off as, it's the house of kind of corresponds with Leo and Sun's energy. So it's like your personality, even if you're another sun sign. So you come off a bit more critical because Virgo is a critical energy, right? With your friends, because 11th house is friends, groups of people. You may feel like you want to, this is the area where you kind of merge with people basically, right? Because if you're overly critical, then you need to kind of sacrifice and merge with others, be more giving towards your friends. But be mindful though, because you do, excuse the noise in the background, you do believe in giving towards your friends at the same time. So, you know, if you're I'm jumping around, but if you're doing that, just be mindful of merging and fitting in, because Pisces kind of is a fitting in type of energy, as it wants to be like the savior. Another way we could look at it is if, when it comes to friends, groups of people, if you're overly giving in this area, you're sacrificing in this area, which is Pisces, self-sacrifice, then just work on your relationship if you have children. Self-improve in this area with children. Now, let's go to Libra on the 6th house versus Aries on the 12th. Opposite houses and opposite energies. So 12th house represents what we do behind the scenes. Aries is a very action-oriented energy, so you like to take action behind the scenes. You may be very independent behind the scenes. And this house represents isolation, distant places. So you may be taking action, again, in isolation and distant from others. So this is why opposite of that, 6th house in your work and even with co-workers and employees, which all what the 6th house represents, you need to kind of have a relationship in this area or be more balanced if you're overly too much in your 12th house energy. Now, if you're having too much of a relationship or being too fair, diplomatic in this area, which is work, right? If you're too much, if you just have too much of a relationship in this area, you need to get back to being independent, kind of behind the scenes. That's how you balance out the energies. So that should resonate with you. Last couple things I want to state is that when you have Aries on the 12th house, you could be the type that suppresses your anger. There could be some secret sorrows around taking action, but your subconscious mind is very action orientated. But this is kind of what you suppress too. It could be courage, bravery. Even though you're doing this behind the scenes, you kind of suppress your courageous side. That's why there could be some secret sorrows, because this house represents secret sorrows and what we suppress, right? So very, very, even you could dream about this area too. You could dream about taking action, but you suppress these things. This is why Aries is independent, it's very action oriented, but you come off as more slow moving because you're suppressing your Aries energy. Because this is, first house is the mass we wear versus 12th house, which is Aries, kind of what we suppress. One other thing I want to state, just to give you some more game for you guys, Capricorn, I said, you're very realistic with whatever it is that you believe in. You need tangible evidence. You could be kind of maybe pessimistic at times. So again, I told you need to work in this area. Now, if we jump back to, because this is the house of kind of like Sag, spirituality, religion, philosophy. So if we jump to your 8th house, this is going to show forth for what can help you transform. Just in general, it's telling you guys that Sagittarius here represents religion, philosophy, spirituality. You could go through deep change, because 8th house is house of Scorpio, deep change through philosophy and spirituality, right, or religion, whatever that may look like for you, and that can help you with working on your beliefs, 9th house. So that's all I want to say. I hope that this video was very enlightening for you guys who are a Taurus Ascendant. We got more videos coming soon. I'm gonna do each Ascendant sign. Stay tuned. Holla at your boy. Make sure you subscribe. Yeah, thank you for tuning in.